Greetings and salutations, everybody. Sorry for the light week last week, as I picked up quite a bug that I'm still kind of recovering from, but I wanted to continue on with the franchise review of the Omen films. And so I've picked up with the next entry for Damien the Omen Part 2 from 1978. Now, this one I know I had never seen before. I'd never seen this one previously, and all I knew was I kind of had this presumption that if they were already making a sequel that quickly, perhaps they were kind of jumping on running things on and on, as I've seen with other films like the Jaws films or Exorcist or several other horror and thriller films over the years, that maybe there wouldn't be much substance to it since I mainly only heard about the first one. And perhaps that'll prove to be true with parts 3 or 4, maybe one of those ones is kind of along those lines, but as for this one, well, here's a synopsis. Damien the Antichrist, now about to turn 13 years old, finally learns of his destiny under the guidance of an unholy disciple of Satan. Meanwhile, dark forces begin to eliminate all those who suspect the child's true identity. So, this one actually surprised me quite a bit. Even knowing that this kid is the Antichrist, something which we were told in the first film, but we still had to kind of see that story unfold to really get on board with what was happening. This is something we already knew going in, but I still found this one to be surprisingly good, in my opinion. One of the things that I'd heard also about this idea of the Antichrist is that it's not going to be some devilish and obviously evil and destructive force, but somebody you would like and admire and trust, who also happens to be the deceiver who will bring about the end of times. So with this film, with Damien, he is played that way quite a bit and comes across really well. It seems for the most part like a nice kid, maybe a little bit entitled or maybe a little bit too sure of himself or something, but otherwise, a good kid, I guess. Except for the events around him as he's kind of being guided down this path. Similar to the first film, it's not this little kid that we're afraid of. It's the circumstances around them which are more frightening than the kid himself. Where this film does, what this film does really well is by not trying to retell the story of the first film. Not pulling like a Home Alone 2, where they simply just wrap a new cover on top of the original story and then try to pass it off as a new film. I really felt like this one was its own thing, like a real sequel, just trying to take the story into another step rather than retread too much. After all, like I said, it was never the little kid that we're afraid of, bringing about the end of times, but more like this kid was kind of like a seedling in a way. They're going to bring it about someday as they kind of rise to power and these, issues are happening around them and they're bringing about the end of times. This is just a step in that story, seeing this kid in military school and what's kind of happening as they're learning about their destiny. Seeing him slowly kind of become the Antichrist knowingly was a great journey, as was, like in the first one, the situations and people around him. Those negatively affected by his rise or attempting to stop his rise or aiding him in that development of kind of realizing his true potential. Now, along with us on this ride also, I saw some recognizable actors such as Nicholas Pryor, who I had just seen in Morgan Stewart's Coming Home, and which I posted a video for a few weeks back, so I'll link to that at the end of this video. And he was also in Falcon and the Winter Soldier more recently, playing Zemo's aide or butler, I believe. And also there was Sylvia Sidney, who I remember mainly as Juno from Beetlejuice, as well as being in Mars Attacks. And we also get a very young Lance Henriksen in this, who of course is from like Aliens, Near Dark, Millennium, Terminator, and just several other films over the years. Now, while this one is not as good as the original, it's still a very worthy addition to that storyline and kind of feels like just another episode that's definitely worth, tuning in for and seeing what it's all about. Now, finally, as we approach the ending of the story in this film, I gotta say I did experience the only negative thing that I felt throughout this. It was a little bit anticlimactic initially. So, we lead up, we kind of have this little showdown in a way, things are kind of wrapped up some, but ultimately it was just kind of okay. Until in the last few minutes we do get this nice twist to really reel everything in, wrap up the rest of this story, and leave things open for the next movie. Because I feel like with that it made what up until that point was kind of, a good movie, decent movie with kind of a lackluster ending, but otherwise an enjoyable film, become much better with that twist at the end. It really added something to it and made it more than worth checking out. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out this latest quick little video here for the second entry as I've been going into these Omen films and this Omen franchise with Damien the Omen 2 from 1978, which at the time of this recording is available on Shudder, or it's not Shudder, on Hulu, as well as a lot of different paid rental services out there. And also as a reminder, I do have 2 more to go through in this set, so and maybe after a short break I'll even check out the remake from the early 2000s to see what a new production kind of brought to this story, if that was worth checking out. So be sure to like, comment, and especially subscribe so you'll be able to check in on those as I release them, which, now that I appear to be on the mend, should be over the next 2 to 4 weeks. And I also have more Elvira presentations. I just posted one last week. We got another one on the way. Some more 80s throwbacks, and of course, I've got over 200 videos in that back catalog if you want to go and check those out. Anyways, that's all I've got for this one. Thanks for coming by and for sticking around to the end, as it really does help out quite a bit. And I will see you in the next one.